Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, Manny Pacquiao has been a professional prize fighter for 24 years. That's a quarter of a century. He's won eight. He's won multiple world titles in 8 different weight classes. He's the only fighter ever to do that. All the way from 112 pounds to 154 pounds. He fights Keith Thurman this Saturday night on PBC on Fox pay-per-view. It's the second one ever of those. It's a big fight. I'm just really excited to see Pacquiao fight again. I think that of my boxing writing career, which spans over a decade, I think that he is one of my very favorite fighters to have covered over that time frame, just because of all the amazing things that we've seen him do.
Yeah, yeah. So the other day on the Insta stories for this account, like I was just talking about, like how I'm really excited. And because what a treat it is as a fan, like I didn't get to see a lot of different great boxer careers. I wasn't
Yeah.
present for them. But I've been present for like the majority of this. I said his whole career, but if you just said he's been boxing 24 years,
Yeah, when
then I
I
haven't
watched
been
the Insta
watching
story and I was like, no, no, Ray. What's crazy about it is that he's had more than one Hall of Fame career in his life. So
Yeah.
before he moved up in weight, right? He fought. You weren't present for like when he
Well, no,
fought
because I
Marco
would have
Antonio
been
Barrera,
14 when his career
Aaron
started. It was
Morales,
24
Juan
years.
Manuel Marquez. He had this great round robin with all these in and around featherweights
Yeah.
that were all Hall of Fame featherweights, and he proved to be the best of that bunch.
Right.
And
And
so
I
he
would say
did all
like
that.
my watching probably started when around the time
De La Hoya.
fought Oscar De La
Yeah.
Hoya.
So when he moved up to fight De La Hoya, he was already a Hall of Famer by then. That's what's so incredible about his career is that, I mean, I remember that fight and I remember thinking, there's no way that Manny Pacquiao's too small. He cannot beat Oscar De La
Is
Hoya.
it because of Manny Pacquiao that we thought Mikey Garcia stood a chance?
Well,
Or that people thought
that
Mikey
people
Garcia?
thought, yeah, but even though they're completely different. But what's crazy too, I mean, honestly, like Mikey Garcia is such a good boxer technically in that he can outbox people. Theoretically, he had a stylistically better chance to outbox somebody a lot bigger than him. Typically, when a guy moves up, he can outbox the guy. But what made Pacquiao so incredible is when he moved up in 2008, I think it was, to fight Oscar De La Hoya, and then Ricky Hatton, Sugar Shane, all these people, Miguel Cotto. He didn't outbox these guys from a technical standpoint. I mean, he didn't like win 12 rounds of like
Right.
cautious boxing. He obliterated them. He completely demolished these larger fighters in a spectacular way. And so, honestly, I think, in my opinion, is not probably aligned with the majority of boxing writers or even boxing fans out there. But I think 25 years from now, when people look back at this era of boxing, they're going to say the best fighter from this era was Manny Pacquiao. And it's because of all these crazy, amazing things that he accomplished, which to me are more historically important than the chief rival to the other claim would be Floyd Mayweather, also one of the all-time greats. So I think they'll be slotted very near each other. I just don't know if, I mean, you can't, like, what Manny Pacquiao had 2 separate Hall of Fame careers in one career, and I don't really feel like Floyd Mayweather had the same thing.
Yeah. And when we were talking about, what we're going to do for the show today and stuff, like I brought up this topic and then you said, yeah, like Saturday could be Pacquiao's last fight. And that is something to definitely be aware of. So I feel like sometimes I get caught up in life and like it's just another boxing match and then I'm excited, but it'll be over. But I'm not really thinking about, like, to be fully present with
Yeah.
the fact that it could be his last boxing match.
Yeah.
And to have been like a fan since, he fought Oscar De La Hoya and have watched that much of his career and had like it's a treat like for all of us that have watched Pacquiao and to be able to see it all the way to the end and that this could be the end. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is something to really be present for.
It could be the end because Pacquiao is 40 years old. He's fighting a natural welterweight, Keith Thurman, who's undefeated, who's 10 years younger than Pacquiao, who is a world champion, and who has a good resume. So typically, if I just told you those things, you would look at it and be like, oh, well, this is a crossroads fight. But this, going into it at least, doesn't feel quite like a crossroads fight, not like a clear cut and dry one. It seems more like a true 50-50 fight. That's why when the fight was announced, odds makers made Thurman the favorite, and now as they've taken in wagers, Pacquiao's now a slight favorite. It's a pick'em fight. But that being said, there have been a lot lower level, a lot more. That being said, there have been a lot of fighters who weren't nearly as good as Keith Thurman, who weren't nearly as accomplished, who have beaten and knocked out and stopped all-time great fighters that were old. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in boxing, Pacquiao looked great against Broner. He looked great against Tuesday. He didn't look like he did back when he was in prime between 2008 and right. 2010, is what I'd argue. Yeah. But he still seems very good, one of the best welterweights in the world. I think that version that was in the ring with Broner, at least, definitely can compete and beat Keith Thurman. But in boxing, sometimes when you're old, all of a sudden you just fall off a cliff. Yeah. And there's just nothing that you can do to stop it. You can't stop it. Atrophy catches up. Yeah. Eventually, sometime.
And boxing is different than other sports. So, like, say we were watching football, you're watching basketball or baseball, you would be watching your team right up until they got to whatever the championship game was. You would have a really good idea of where they stand. We don't have the benefit of seeing Pacquiao's training camp. Nope. So we don't know what it looks like. All we have is this fight. When was his last fight? How long ago was that?
6 months ago.
Like, that's all that we have to inform us. And so boxing is very different than every other kind of sport when you're trying. There's like some mystery there. Like, we just don't get that data.
It's also different because it's one-on-one. So, like, in football, Tom Brady's also really old. But, like, he's surrounded by a team, and so you can kind of hide your deficiencies. Tom Brady is not the quarterback that he was 5 years ago, but because he can't move as well and stuff like that. He's still a really, really great quarterback. But you can hide kind of what his deficiencies start to be in a team setting. In a one-on-one sport, and in a combat sport at that, there's nowhere to hide in there. It's just a person standing in front of another person throwing punches at each other. So Keith Thurman has good power. I'm not super big on Keith Thurman's ability to counterpunch. I think that if it was like a Keith Thurman type who also had, say, a Danny Garcia's ability to counterpunch, that Thurman would be a good favorite in this fight for good reason. But I'm not sure he has that. I'm not sure he's fast enough to beat at least the Pacquiao that I saw in January. But I don't know if I'm going to see the same Pacquiao this week that I saw in January. So that's the big question for me.
Yeah. And I would just like say to anybody who's watching, really take in. Like, if you're excited about this event or looking forward to it even just a little bit, be present and enjoy the career that has been Manny Pacquiao and his fight. Like, you know that this could be the last one, and just enjoy that. Like,
and really, it's overused, I think, a lot. But I really do feel, I'm 40 years old, Rachel's a little younger. Manny Pacquiao is a once-in-a-lifetime type of fighter, right? He's a Roberto Duran. He's a Sugar Ray Robinson. What he's accomplished, I don't see anybody in my lifetime doing that again in the same way, at least in the same amazing way that he did it. So we really should appreciate what could be his last fight, you know? And, you know, in boxing, our heroes or our people that we admire in the sport usually don't get the send-off that we wish they would. So just also something to keep in mind as you watch the tail end of Pacquiao's career. What I love about Pacquiao is he's going to go out fighting to win and fighting the best fighters, you know. There's talk about him fighting Earl Spence next if he wins Thurman. Even that he's fighting Thurman is amazing to me that he would, like, I want to fight that guy, you know. Yeah. That's awesome. We need more of that in boxing. Wins and losses don't define a fighter as much as people sometimes think they do. Manny Pacquiao knows that, and he lives his best life. You know who else is living their best lives?
Who's that, Kelsey? Kelsey
and Rachel from Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel. We appreciate you liking, commenting, and subscribing. We just went over 700 subscribers.
I know. I saw it. It's
so exciting. I'm so excited about it. We're really, really excited. We can't wait to get to 1,000. That's been like our goal. Yeah. We have a goal. I didn't really ever expect to have 700 subscribers, I guess. I mean, I thought that we could, but it's not something that like we're like obsessed with. But we do appreciate it, and we're really happy that we have 700 other best boxing friends to talk about our favorite sport with.